Welcome back to the show. Before we went on break, Willis here was telling me how warehousing receipt system will assist in establishing the futures market, especially in the agricultural sector, and how this will, quote-unquote, stabilize the prices of agricultural commodities in the country. And I think it's a very good idea because it will help establish the macro environment as well. Now, when we come back, I had promised that we'll have a deep dive into the two stocks that are making headlines. One is Sasini. It's 50 times profit, which is around 4,500 or 4,550% profitability is being reported for Sasini. And they have said that they are going to give a dividend of 0.5 shillings to anyone who will be in the books by end of February. Is this the reason why it's taking quite, an upward trend?
Yes, it is. Normally when a company reports positive results and they report a dividend, they tend to have an upward trend in terms of valuation, market valuation performance. One thing we've noted with Sasini is that they performed very well on the revenue front. 26.7% is a very big jump for an agricultural company. Unfortunately, for agricultural company, they tend to have those erratic up and down system.
Yeah.
But what we noted is that they had a very good performance in terms of tea, which international market, despite it having a lull, they performed very well. Their expansion into macadamia and avocado is really picking up. Their revenue contribution are really shifting from tea towards these two products, macadamia and avocados. Yeah. Remember, they still have open markets in Europe and Australia. Another thing we've seen is that, and we talked about this, is the revaluation of biological assets. Last financial year, that is 2020, they had a negative revaluation of about 117 million. And now they are in positive 300 million. So that turnaround is a very big factor.
Is this where the profitability is coming from?
Definitely,
largely?
That's where the profitability is coming from. Definitely,
okay.
Considering that anything that after operational profit, we haven't seen much activities on that down low. So the operational profit jumped very well, and that is a positive thing for the company.
Yeah. On the other hand, the bearded sisters, Kakuzi and Limuru Tea, are reporting profit warnings. What's informing the profit warning in Kakuzi? Yes, it's not a loss, but they are making less money this year.
Yes, that is true. A few things that you'll notice that unlike Sasini, they might not have that large biological asset review. Number two is that Kakuzi normally export 46% of agricultural products. I'm talking about the whole market. I'm not talking about Kakuzi itself. I'm talking about the whole market. 46%
of all the agricultural products in this country.
So anything that affects international markets will have a hit on Kakuzi directly. So that is a very big factor for Kakuzi's performance. And unfortunately, we know what happened in Europe with the lockdowns, slower tea performance. Asia, we also saw a slowdown in tea consumption. Avocados, we know very well that those are lockdown. And then let's not forget that they still had a very bad reputation last year, but that they've been sorted, so we expect another trend.
Of course, the only reason they are giving, however, for the profit warning is lower production of avocados. You had me complain about lower production of avocados because I expect it's a tree, it's there. It's just supposed to give me avocados.
Let's not forget this. Their key market, the Tesco, they had a very big supermarket presence in Europe. Yeah. All those guys dropped them.
Because of the human rights.
Yes. So the moment your key market drops you, then that is a revenue factor. Leave alone the avocados. Yeah, you might be having the tree that has produced, but the market has dumped you. So what
are you saying that probably they were being polite when they told us that it's just an issue of production? Avocado production.
That's true, avocado production. But the market is
in other words, what you're saying is there are more reasons than just avocado production.
Yes, but you cannot go shouting that we were. So when you look at these figures well, when you look at the background of the company well, when you analyze the company in a little bit of details, you'll see that their production years went down. I don't refute, but also there are other factors that might have compelled the revenue reduction. I'm not saying that the avocados their production did not slow down. It might have, but again, let's look at it wholesomely, and you'll see that there might be other factors that affect it.
Yeah.
But the good thing about it, again, and if I can come to the rescue of Kakuzi, is that they've been able to resolve these issues. So definitely 2022 performance will outstrip 2021 performance.
I think they should give you a call. You are quite a good ambassador for them. And they really should talk to you. But, you know, I'm thinking in my mind, and I was mentioning this, in the agricultural sector, all I have to do is just hold some of these stocks and expect that somehow the revaluations will make me rich at some point, because the revaluations seem to make quite a difference here.
The confidence about agricultural stock is the dividend bit. Let's forget the capital gains, because they rarely move. But they pay well in terms of dividends. The like of Williamson's, the like of what's the sister company to Williamson? The sister company to Williamson's, they pay very good dividend. The essence of it is that they do not have heavy reinvestment factor in their book. So they're able to pay even above 100% dividend yield on their stock. So whether you're holding it on, if you hold it, then you'll be able to gain very good dividend despite the capital gain. The only negative thing,
when I look at the graphs of some of these guys, you know, Limuru tea is just flat in terms of the price gains. Williamson tea, almost the same. Sasini is the one which is quite the dancer on the graph.
The only problem with those agricultural stock, unfortunately, is getting liquidity is very hard. To be able to get the shares is very hard. Getting a volume of more than, maybe let's say if you want to buy 5,000 shares, you might stay in the market for a while. Or if you want to sell 5,000 shares, you might stay in the market for a while. And that will create a little bit of velocity on those stocks. So whether you want to hold it, I'll pray you hold it long term. Forget this thing of buying today and selling tomorrow. Those are stocks that...
So these are not speculative stocks?
They're not speculative stocks. They're stocks that you buy and think about your grandchildren.
Fair enough. I don't know if you have a comment on Limuru tea. She's also reporting that she has a profit warning.
Limuru tea, unfortunately, has one of the lowest market share in that sector. Number two, they heavily depend on tea. I think the largest revenue contributor is tea. Now, tea getting a hit last year with very erratic prices. We saw those decline in price of about 15%, which is very big for that. Number two, they also have very heavy foreign revenue contributor, Europe, big factor. I think if I'm not wrong, it brings in about 75% of their total revenue. So that was a very big hit when the European market were factors. Now, with the reopening of the European market, with the slowdown of Omicron virus, the version of the virus coming down, if they continue to open this the markets, then that's a very positive thing. Logistics is also a very big challenge. We've seen that airlines have been grounded, so not much shipping is happening in these countries. So those can be very big factors in 2022.
But the government has been very vocal that we have opened up significant markets for some of our products in the Middle East and even the Far East for tea and coffee.
Yes, they have. I'll give that to the government. They've tried to market these products that...
So then we would not necessarily be too dependent on the European market.
But are you selling the processed tea? Are you adding value to it, or are you selling the tea without processing? You might have that, and then they go and up the value there. So let's focus. If I was the government, I will focus more on creating that tea that is ready to sell in those markets. We up the value of, and these advantages will go directly to the farmers. We'll up the value for that. Let's also look at how the marketing is being done. We've seen a lot of conflict with one of the key marketing agency in those regions. So those are some of the things that the government should be working on. working on trying to ensure that as much as we are exporting, what value of it are we exporting in terms of what stage of valuation are we exporting, and are we still having domestic conflicts with the farmers? How much are we supporting the farmers on that front? And the reality of the matter, if I can tell you, Diambo, is that the area under agriculture, and especially these key products, continue declining year on year as we move more and more into real estate, as we move to these regions.
You mean the land holding?
The land holding. And then number two, let's not forget that climate change factor is going to be a very key focus in the next few years. Is our government and also the research agencies working towards producing species that will be able to contain this climate change?
But Castel, Willis, let me take you back and perhaps ask you something. You say that these guys give you super dividends because there is no reinvestment amount. What would be in my mind is right now we are talking about climate smart agriculture and perhaps techniques and technologies that can be employed in that area. Instead of just saying the government should, why don't they withhold a little bit of their profits, invest in climate smart agriculture significantly?
They are, and that's the reason why most of these companies have invested in terms of coming up with new crop species. If you go to Limuru area, the areas which is less, I know they have regional farming. You will see that there's a change in terms of the crops, and if you talk to the farmers, they'll tell you that this is a new crop and it has been improved so that it either been harvested more, especially in the dry season, or this is a fast growing crop, which means that there's faster the turnover in terms of
so the big companies, the big listed companies are doing something about it. Yes. But what you imply is that the government should now invest some more, especially for the non-listed smaller players.
At the end of the day, it's to the advantage of the government to try and improve this, considering that, again, there are still small-scale farmers who cannot afford those research skills. So if the government is able to improve that and give it to the small-scale farmers, that means production is going to go higher.
Right.
So let's forget the big boys in terms of agriculture, tea, coffee, whether it's a macadamia or avocado. But we still have small-scale farmers. And these small-scale farmers are the ones who are going to feed these companies in terms of production, because they cannot produce them themselves. Yeah. So again, the Kakuzi, the sasini need to produce these seeds and give it to the farmers, which they are, and especially with the new products of avocado and that. They have a very good outreach program to the small-scale farmers. Now, at the end of the day, again, when you're going to fight it out with the international market, there's also the aspect of how much is the government trying to compare themselves with the other producers. Yeah. Let's not forget, we don't have the monopoly of tea producing. In fact, globally, we might not be in top 5 in those
no, but I am a proud Kenyan and we say our tea is the best. So we are not having that conversation of we are not in the top. Yeah, it's the best. That brings me to the question of value chain, and you had alluded to it, and many other people have alluded to it. And the question is, why are these guys not improving the local value chain? Because you've mentioned here over and over again that we are quite dependent on the international market.
Okay, I told you earlier that the farmers, when they harvest, they need their cash then. They don't want to wait for the 3 months, 1 month period, because if I've harvested and I have kids in school, I have to do my production, to improve my production, I need that money here and then.
Yes.
So what happened? The company is willing to pay you good returns, but they'll tell you to wait for 30 days. So what happens? There are people called middlemen. The middlemen will come buy the teas from the farmers, are able to sustain the revenue, have the cash flow to sell it to the companies and wait for the 30 days, 45 days as they wait. So it's not the companies that are suppressing the farmers. It is the middlemen who are suppressing the farmers.
No, you're talking.
And this is where your warehouse receipting will come in handy.
And we'll solve this problem.
So if we bring it earlier, then we'll be able to eliminate the middleman and take advantage. The farmers now will be able to reap more. And I'm repeating this.
Let's not say that middlemen are all bad people. They are very nice people. They help us to ensure that there is liquidity in the market, because a lot of these guys really need that money to pay school fees and the other needs that they have. And so middlemen are not entirely bad people, Willis.
They're not bad people, but what value addition are they doing from taking it to the farmer and to the company? So that is the question there is. So if the middlemen are pro-farmers, then we will see the farmers rising. But the middlemen are not pro-farmers.
Fair enough. The value chain I wanted to hear is there's a cry that we are sending out primary products without processing them or without necessarily manufacturing locally. You've mentioned of avocados, you've mentioned of potatoes, and potato, whichever it is. Why are we not able to do this locally so that then the likes of Sasini and Kakuzi and the other bearded sisters can then now just go to the local market and not over-rely on the international markets?
The local market does not have the capacity to consume the product that is produced. And they also, remember, we also need the exchange.
But they have the capacity to manufacture. They have the capacity to process, no?
No, we don't have the capacity to process.
Come on, Buan. We can process some of the coffee that these guys take out, or some of the tea that these guys take out.
I'm not refusing.
But
I'm saying yes. But if you look at it very well, the quality of tea that they sold out there and the quality of tea they sell it in the Kenyan market, they're very different. So we do not have the capacity to consume the high-end product, and especially considering that it's very expensive to produce it. And again, why would you want to eat your golden goose? Why would you want to consume your golden goose? Why not just produce it, make it very high quality and sell it in the international market? Because
the real value is in the value proposition of value addition. Because you see, as a primary product, you're probably just sending it out as just an agricultural produce. But when you add value to it, you could sell it for 10, 20 times.
And that is very true. The essence of it is maybe what we can think about is bringing those people who are processing those coffees into the Kenyan market and see how much advantage you can be able to take to that. Or send our students to those markets, let them be able to learn, and when they come up, we give them the facility and the ability to do that there. Considering that, let me tell you, Ramogi, Kenyans are very educated. Kenyans are in all these countries trying
this
to
is a battle I am willing to fight to the end, but we have capacity to produce in terms of human resource and know-how. What we lack probably is capital, and capital can be attracted through investment, no?
That is true. That is true.
So why are we not doing this here?
Now, I think next visitor you should be able to bring in somebody from the Kenyan Investment Commission to be able to explain that to you.
Okay. Perhaps just one of the, I'm told that we have a few more minutes to go before I start ending the show, if not just ending the show. But which stock, I know you cannot do advisory on air, but which stock in the agricultural sector really captures your attention, and why?
I will go with Kakuzi, I will go with Williamson, and I can't remember the sister company to Williamson, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry, but I'll go with those. Like I said, these are stocks you buy to hold for long term. Wait for dividend payment, enjoy the dividend over a period of time. Those three stocks that I've talked about, they have very good dividend payout.
So you are saying that they are probably the best for those of us with low risk appetite?
Yes, they are. Like I said again, they have very low liquidity. You will have to wait for them in the market for a long time to be able to get the numbers you want. You'll get the 100, the 200 shares, but again, those will not give you the value of dividend income that you want. So you'll have
probably need 5,000 or so.
Yes.
Okay.
So those are the stocks I'll tell you. So anybody who wants to buy stocks and hold them, those are the stocks I'll tell you.
All right. Thank you very much. That has been quite a conversation. I still feel like there is a lot we could have discussed, especially as regards the value chain and some of the things that have come out of this conversation. I also would have loved to talk to you more about support to the farmers and how the government can play its role to ensure that this sector is revived or revamped, as it were. But as you say, that is a conversation for another day. When you come next, you come with company. Well, that has been quite an interesting journey. The agricultural sector is the place to put your money if you have a low risk appetite. Their dividends are often beautiful, super dividends, and it's paid on time. The other thing also that I've learned is that the revaluation is something that happens quite frequently, both on the biological assets and their properties, and that can actually increase your value if you are an investor in the stock market and you're keen in the agricultural sector. The challenge, as discussed by my colleague here, is that their liquidity is not as available as you'd think. If you want 5,000 shares, you'll have to wait for a very long time. Today I have learned quite an interesting quote from a gentleman, a Nigerian gentleman. He's called Idowu Koyenikan. And he says, when money realizes that it is good in your hands, it wants to stay and multiply in those hands. Think about those things. Before we end the show,